Millionaire stumbles upon his twin daughters in the rain. What he discovered was life-changing. The night was dark and stormy, rain crashing against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists. Tom Reynolds squinted through the downpour as he drove his sleek luxury car home from a high-profile charity gala. The glitz of the event felt like a distant echo in his mind. He was a millionaire with a successful business empire, a man respected in the corporate world, but deep down he was fighting an emptiness that gnawed at him like a relentless pit bull. Suddenly his heart dropped. Two small, shivering figures huddled under a bus stop appeared in the flickering streetlights. As he slowed to a stop, he gasped in disbelief. The girls were unmistakable: Emily and Kate, his twin daughters, now teenagers lost in the storm, looking worlds away from the privileged life he had chosen. He stepped out into the torrential rain as memories swirled around him: their laughter, the way Kate would twirl in her princess dress, and how Emily's eyes sparkled with mischief. He swallowed hard, guilt clawing at his chest as he approached them. "Girls," he called, voice shaky, "we don't need anything from you." Emily snapped, the defiance in her voice cutting sharper than the cold rain around them. Kate shifted uncomfortably, her shivering body betraying her pain. They now lived in a cramped apartment after their mother sunk into addiction, a far cry from the life of comforts he had provided before their world fell apart. Tom's heart twisted as he saw past the layers of resentment etched on their faces. They didn't care about his wealth or the material gifts he tried to shower them with. They just wanted a father, someone who had been there when life got tough. Clenching his fists, he felt frustration rise within himself, battling against his instinct to retreat back into his bubble of financial success. Silence lingered between them, thick and bitter. He stepped closer, desperation clawing at his throat. The words caught. "This is just another sorry attempt, isn't it?" Kate's voice wavered but held a firm resolve. Tom felt his knees shake. They were right. For years all he had chased were numbers and accolades, losing sight of what truly mattered. Before he could respond, a sudden crisis enveloped them, sending adrenaline through his veins. A group of strangers loomed nearby, their intentions dark and threatening. Instinctively, Tom stepped to shield his daughters, a thunderous roar of commitment igniting within him. This time he wouldn't turn away. He felt a shift inside, the stark realization that wealth meant nothing if it couldn't protect those he loved. The rain intensified, washing over them, mirroring the storm brewing inside, an unyielding pulse of fear and determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the thunder clapped overhead, their eyes locked. They were scared, and so was he. But Tom realized he was willing to fight for them, not just with resources, but with vulnerability and honesty. Would they find a way to heal together, or would newer complications unfold that could sever this newly altered bond? In that frenetic moment, everything hung delicately in the balance, and Tom understood. This was just the beginning of forging a path toward redemption. The storm raged on, both outside and within, leaving their futures intertwined in question. Panic gripped Tom as he noticed the strangers loitering nearby, their laughter echoing with a sinister undertone. He stepped closer to Emily and Kate, positioning himself like a shield, heart pounding against his ribcage. Rain mixed with adrenaline, making his body buzz with a fierce determination. "Stay close," he whispered fiercely, glancing back at the girls. The truth surged through him like electricity. He had craved these moments, the chance to protect them, but now he was terrified. Emily and Kate's eyes widened, a spark of realization mixed with dread. "Dad, you shouldn't," Kate began, panic rising up in her voice. "No, I won't let anything happen to you," Tom interrupted, feeling an unfamiliar strength building inside him. He stood tall, ready to face whatever was coming. The group approached, their demeanor shifting from playful to predatory, eyes slippery with malice. Tom's mind raced. What could he do? He was a businessman, a builder of empires, not a brawler. But these were his daughters, his blood. The very thought of them being pushed around by these strangers ignited a wildfire in him. "Hey, He yelled, voice steady despite the storm raging outside and in. You have a problem, take it out on me, not my daughters. The words fell heavy in the air. There was a moment of hesitation, a flicker of surprise that coursed through the group. But then one of them, taller and more menacing than the rest, let out a laugh that sounded more like a howl. You think you can scare us off with your fancy clothes? You're nothing here, rich man. With each sneer, Tom felt something shift within him. Their small rebuke felt like a release of years pent up in shadows of doubt and self-reproach. It's not the clothes that scare you, he said, stepping forward with a fierce edge that surprised even himself. It's the fact that I'm willing to hit the ground for my daughters. The taller one sneered but seemed to falter slightly, likely thrown off by Tom's unexpected confidence. The wind howled around them, lending an air of fierce solidarity to Tom's stance. Back off or I'll call the cops, Tom shouted, pulling out his phone. He hoped they wouldn't see how unsteady his hands were. But before he could dial, a strangled cry came from Kate. Dad, no. Tom turned just in time to see the taller guy lunging forward, the tension snapping like a taut wire. He barely reacted, throwing his arms out instinctively to protect his daughters, his instincts sharp. But before he could brace himself, Emily darted in front of him. Just leave us alone, she screamed, her voice cutting through the night like lightning. The fierceness in her plea sent shivers down Tom's spine. The group hesitated, surprised, caught off guard by the desperation emanating from the girls. For a moment silence filled the air, pregnant with an unusual sense of power. Let us get out of here, the big guy smirked, backing away slowly as uncertainty flickered in his eyes. You're lucky this time, old man. Teach your girls some respect. With that, they faded into the shadows of the storm, leaving a charged silence behind. Tom turned to Emily and Kate, breathing hard. The adrenaline coursed through him, but he felt a strange sense of hope piercing through the clouded chaos. Are you two okay? We're fine, Emily breathed, but the tremor in her voice echoed their earlier fear. We didn't expect you to actually stand up to them, Kate admitted, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through her anger. A small smile emerged on Tom's face, the warmth of it feeling strange yet endearing. Well, I'm not letting you down again. Not now, not ever. In the chaos of that stormy night, a fragile thread of trust began to weave between them. But the path ahead was still obscured, fraught with unhealed wounds and a lifetime of regret. Dad, Emily hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. What happens now? Can we really fix this? The question hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. Tom swallowed hard, staring into the darkness that surrounded them. Hope battled fear, and he knew there was no simple answer. But he felt it, the first glimmer of determination to find a way as they stood together. The rain poured on, but something shifted. They were three figures standing against the storm, and for the first time in a long while, he believed they could face what came next together. But just as relief began to settle, another shadow emerged from the dark. A familiar figure stepped into the light, and Tom's heart sank. The storm was far from over. Tom's heart raced as he squinted through the sheets of rain, trying to make sense of the figure striding towards them. The neon lights reflected off the wet pavement, creating an eerie atmosphere that felt all too unreal. Emily, Kate, he murmured, his voice catching in his throat. Stay behind me. The shadow drew closer, revealing a woman with familiar features and an intensity that sent a flare of panic through him. Tom, she called, her voice wavering with a mixture of urgency and distress. Claire. He managed, his voice barely rising above the downpour. The years since their separation rushed back, a tidal wave of memories crashing over him. Claire, the love of his life, had walked away after the divorce, leaving behind echoes of laughter and a home that had never felt the same since. What are you doing here? Tom demanded, confusion etched across his face. Claire hesitated, her eyes darting to the girls, then back to Tom. I came to find you. I need to talk. What could you possibly want? Tom's voice hardened, the sting of betrayal rising in him like bile. After all this time, after everything? I know, she whispered, rain mingling with tears on her cheeks. I made mistakes. But it's not just about us, it's about them. Kate stepped forward, crossing her arms defiantly. What do you want with us? Tom felt the pull of doubt in his heart. He wanted to protect the girls, but he also had questions racing through his mind. The storm felt less threatening than the emotional tempest rising within him. Your dad deserves to know the truth, Claire continued, her voice steady but pleading. There's something I need to tell you, all something I should have told you years ago. They're not kids anymore, Claire. They've seen enough, Tom said, a flicker of anger flaring in his chest. You don't get to just waltz back in after you left us in pieces. I know, Claire replied, her eyes shimmering with regret. But I can't let it go on any longer. You have to understand I was scared. Scared of everything that was happening. And scared of what it would mean for you and for them. Emily's fists tightened at her sides, trying to make sense of a mother's sudden appearance and the words she spoke. What do you mean scared? What could you possibly have to tell us that's so important? The relentless rain seemed to still for a brief moment, allowing Claire to take a step forward, her breath shaky but resolute. I didn't just leave, I made a choice that changed everything. You have sisters you don't know about. No, Tom interrupted, not wanting to hear it. That's impossible. Tom, listen. Claire cut him off, looking desperate. I didn't want to ruin your lives, but they deserve to know where they came from. They're out there. The girls, they're not just my mistake. Silence enveloped them, heavy with the weight of her words. Tom's heart thudded against his chest as disbelief mixed with memories of sleepless nights and the ache of what had been lost. For of us? Emily whispered, her expression a mixture of shock and intrigue. I thought it was best to stay away, Claire said, her voice softening. But it's time to face the truth. They need to know the truth about their family. Tom felt the storm brewing in the clouds around them mirrored in the turmoil inside. Could he even trust her? Could they be torn apart again? Why now? Tom could barely keep the tremor out of his voice. What changed? Because if I don't tell you, I might lose them too. I don't want the same mistakes to slip by. Please let me explain. Every word hung in the air, fragile and raw. Tom felt the anger, confusion, and worry swell into a chaotic storm. As the rain continued to fall, one thought rang louder than the rest in his mind. Could uncovering this truth really change everything? Before he could decide, the clouds rumbled ominously above, hinting that the storm was far from over. Tom's gaze flickered between Claire and the girls, searching for answers in the familiar contours of Claire's face, but finding only uncertainty. The downpour had intensified, drenching them in icy droplets, but it did little to diminish the heat of the moment. Why should I believe you? Tom's voice was low, but the fury behind it was unmistakable. Memories of betrayal ignited a fire within, yet he felt the flickers of doubt creep in. He could see it in Emily and Kate's faces, their youthful innocence collided with a fierce curiosity. Because I never wanted to hurt you, Claire said, desperation clawing at her throat. I was not just running from something, I was running for my life, for theirs. Emily's eyes sparkled with latent questions as she exchanged a glance with her sister. What do you mean overt sisters? How is that possible? I had a relationship after you with someone else, Claire explained, her words tumbling out in a rush. I thought it was over between us. I thought I could manage on my own. But when I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. I didn't know how to face you both again. So I made decisions in fear. Tom felt a knot develop in his gut. Each word peeled back the layers of their past, exposing wounds he thought were healed. The rain pelted down, washing away the dirt but seeming to echo the pain that lingered just beneath the surface of their family. What does this have to do with us? Kate interjected, her eyebrows knitted in disbelief. Those girls, they are my daughters too. I've kept them hidden to protect them from a past I thought I could escape. But it was wrong. They deserve to know you. And you deserve to know them. With each confession, Tom felt like he was watching a dam break. A flood of emotions threatened to overwhelm him. Anger surged, tempered by a flicker of hope. Would this information change everything they had rebuilt? Did he want it to? What's their names? Emily asked, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and eagerness. Jessica and Mia, Claire replied, her voice breaking. They are. I can't believe this. Kate shouted, her back straightening. You left us for them? No. Claire insisted, stepping closer, her arms outstretched. It wasn't like that. I thought I was doing what was best. I wanted to keep you safe, even if it meant sacrificing my own happiness. The words hung like weightless raindrops, dense yet unacknowledged. Tom could see the splash of confusion on his daughters' faces, the questioning of their identity shifting into a tangible dread. Images of their lives, the carefully constructed family, felt like a house of cards about to tumble. "What's done is done," Tom whispered, fighting the urge to crumble. "But you come here now after all this time, why?" "Because," Claire said, her voice dropping to a hushed plea, the rain framing her tears like diamonds falling into darkness. "I can't lose anything else. If you walk away now, if you don't let me explain, I fear I will lose the future of our family." Caught in the whirlwind of emotions, Tom struggled to breathe. The past was a tempest raging within him. His heart pulsed with anguish, yet the tiny thread of hope stretched between them. Could there be a way forward? And before he could form a coherent thought, the shadows in the rain shifted slowly, transforming a mere memory into a formidable reality. "Claire," he started, voice trembling. "What happens next?" But just as the words left his lips, a flash of lightning lit the sky, casting eerie shadows that danced on the wet pavement, revealing a figure moving swiftly towards them. The storm was far from finished. As the lightning cracked overhead, the figure emerged more clearly, a silhouette against the chaotic backdrop of the storm. Tom squinted, heart racing, as the darkness parted to reveal an unfamiliar woman. Her drenched hair clung to her face, obscuring her features, but there was something in her stance that felt charged with urgency. "Who are you?" Tom barked, instinctively stepping in front of Claire and the girls, his protective instincts flaring. The woman paused, her breath visible in quick puffs as anxiety glazed her wide eyes. "I am sorry to intrude," she stammered. "I was just passing by and heard the commotion. I think I can help." "Help with what?" Tom shot back, confusion and mistrust rolling off him in waves. "Please, just hear me out," she pleaded, glancing at Claire, then back at Tom. "It's about Jessica and Mia. It's about their past." Tom felt the weight of her words press into him. "What do you know about them?" he demanded, grounding himself against the swell of emotions. I know who their father is," she replied, finally stepping closer, the rain cascading down her arms as if she were washing away burdens. And why Claire felt she had to keep them hidden. His mind spun, each piece of the puzzle feeling farther from place. "What are you talking about?" he pressed, his voice taut. Claire was the only one. "No, she wasn't," the woman shouted, a sense of desperation breaking through her fear. "Jessica and Mia. They're not just Claire's daughters. They're part of a legacy you don't know about. One that puts them in danger." "Danger?" Emily whispered, stepping forward. Her youthful face, once filled with eager curiosity, now twisted in fear. "Please," the woman continued. "You don't understand. There are people looking for them. People who won't stop until they find the girls. I have seen what they can do." Her hands trembled, the rain mixing with tears coursing down her cheeks. Instinctively, Tom felt the rush of darkness enveloping the moment. Instincts sharp as a blade told him he needed answers quickly. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I've seen too much of the pain they can cause," she said with a steadying breath. "And because I want to protect them just like you do." I know Claire thought she was being a good mother, but she was only feeding the fire. A silence stretched between them, pregnant with unspoken fears and unresolved pains. Tom turned to Claire. "Is this true?" Claire's eyes widened. I thought I could keep them safe. I would have never put them in harm's way. That's why I ran." Panic laced her words, urgency swelling in her chest. The clouds roiled above, the storm seeming to mirror the turmoil within. Tom ran a hand through his hair, fighting the rising tide of anxiety. "We can't let anything happen to them. Not now, when they've just discovered they have family. Then we need to act fast," the stranger interjected. "If we don't find a way to protect them, it won't be long before they're tracked down. We need to leave now." Tom looked at his daughters, their faces pale and illuminated by the occasional lightning strike. The flicker of life in them sparked to fright, and he realized they needed more than just protection. They needed the safety of family, clarity in chaos. Steeling himself, he took a deep breath. "What do we do?" But as he looked back towards the woman, a ripple of fear caught him. Behind her, shadows began to shift, creeping slowly like dark thoughts slowly taking shape. Claire whispered, the dread hanging in the air thicker than the rain. And then the moment of realization hit him hard. "They're here," he gasped with all eyes on the encroaching figures. Fear curdled in Tom's gut. They were just families trying to reunite, but the world outside was ready to strip that hope away. What would he do next? Would this storm swallow their chance at healing? Or could they find a way together? As the rain poured down, the answer felt as stormy as the night. The tension in the air felt electric, charged not just by the storm overhead but by the fear that crept into every corner of Tom's mind. The figures, cloaked in darkness, advanced like phantoms. He could see the glint of something metallic in one man's hand, sparking a primal instinct to shield his family. "Claire, take the girls and run," he shouted, his voice breaking the storm's roar. He barely noticed the words escaping his lips. The instinct to protect took over entirely. "But Claire," began, fear gripping her tone. "Now." Tom's heart pounded as adrenaline surged through him. He didn't wait for her to answer but took a step forward, ready to confront the looming shadows. The woman beside him stayed rooted, her eyes locked on the figures. "You have to trust me, Tom. They won't stop." Her plea broke through his protective haze. He turned slightly toward her, searching for any flicker of reassurance. "Who are they?" Tom demanded again. "The ones who want the girls. They know about the legacy," she said, voice low as if the words themselves could summon the danger she feared. "We need to move quickly." The figures shifted, and Tom caught a glimpse of their faces. They were men, hardened and cold, with urgency carved into their expressions. He could feel the pulse of danger tightening around them like a noose. "Stand back," he shouted again, almost instinctively. In his mind, he was the barrier between the girls and the encroaching darkness. Fear clawed at him. A sense of inadequacy tugged at his heart. Was he strong enough to fight whatever awaited them? Suddenly, a flash of bright lightning split the sky, illuminating the scene. 4 figures with intentions cloaked in darkness. The closest man raised his arm, and in an alarming instant, Tom recognized it was a weapon. "Get down!" he yelled, shoving Claire and the girls to the ground. The world slowed, the storm roaring around them, but time seemed to stretch as he leaped in front, adrenaline heightening his senses. There was a pop, sharp and sudden, echoing through the rain. Tom's pulse quickened, a swirl of protectiveness and dread battling within him. But it wasn't the bullet that struck him. It was the realization that this was real, not a nightmare from which he might wake. "Run!" the woman cried, yanking at his arm, her breath mingling with panic. "We have to go now." He hesitated, eyes glued to the approaching men. The instinct to fight warred with the need to keep Claire and the girls safe. "We can't just leave." "Not yet, Tom." Claire's voice was urgent, pulling him back to reality. "We have to trust her. She knows more than we do." But as they stood, the danger became increasingly palpable. Tom's chest tightened. The weight of his decisions pressed onto him, and for a fleeting moment, regret flickered in his heart for every choice that had led them here. "Please," the woman whispered, panic etched into her features. "They won't stop coming after us. We have to move before it's too late." With one last look at the dark figures drawing near, Tom grasped Claire's hand tightly. A whirlwind of thoughts raced through him, but they needed to act. He couldn't let fear dictate their fate any longer. "Fine. We follow you," he managed, the urgency echoing in his heart. "Where do we go?" But as the woman turned to lead them, a tall figure stepped forward, his voice booming against the storm. "Stop right there." The air crackled with tension, every heartbeat resonating louder than the storm. Tom felt Claire squeeze his hand, and he knew in that moment, everything could shift. Would they survive this, or was their bond about to be torn apart before it could even begin? The storm raged on, but inside Tom's heart, the question simmered: was their family about to face its greatest battle yet? Tom's heart raced as the dark figure loomed closer, an iron determination in his stance. He could see the outline of a gun now, glistening in the flashes of lightning. Every fiber of his being screamed for action. He had to protect Claire and the girls. "Move!" he barked, thrusting Claire and the girls behind him. But there was nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. The oppressive storm wrapped around them, adding to the chaos of the moment. "Who are you?" Tom shouted at the figure. His voice bore the weight of a father's desperation. The man smirked, taking a step forward. "You really don't want to know." Suddenly, another figure emerged from the shadows, a younger man with a wild look in his eyes. "Let us just get this over with," he shouted, shoving past the first man. We don't have all night. Tom felt the panic rising, not just for himself but for his family. Clenching his fists, he thought of the legacy, the one they would take if given the chance. Stay close to me, he ordered, eyeing the newcomers. The tall figure laughed, a sound that sent chills down Tom's spine. You think you can protect them? You're just a father. Too late for chivalry. Something inside Tom snapped. It was one thing to threaten him, but to put his family in jeopardy was a line he wouldn't let them cross. Get away from them. With determination fueling him, he pushed back against the fear. Suddenly, Tom lunged at the young man, driven by a protective instinct that was stronger than any hesitation. He collided with the figure, the two tumbling to the wet ground. Adrenaline surged as he wrestled for control. Tom! Claire's voice pierced through the chaos, filled with an echo of fear and urgency. The tall man raised his weapon, and Tom's breath caught in his throat. But as he grappled with the younger figure, he caught a glimpse of Claire gripping the girls to her side, wide-eyed and terrified. He couldn't let her witness violence. He had to defuse the situation. If you want them, you'll have to go through me first, Tom shouted, the words ripping from his throat like a war cry. The man's grin faltered slightly, surprise flickering across his face. You're more foolish than I thought. But before anything could escalate, the woman from before stepped forward and shouted, Stop this. They don't know what they're dealing with. The tension hung heavy as the stillness settled. All eyes turned to her, curiosity mixed with suspicion. If she had answers, they needed them now. What do you mean? Tom pressed, his voice steady despite the chaos. They are not just after your daughters, she explained, fear dancing in her eyes. There's more at stake, something that could change everything. Tom felt the weight of her words like a boulder atop his chest. Had this been about more than just their family? Was this legacy she spoke of truly as dangerous as it seemed? The shadows of the figures loomed larger, not just as threats to his family but as pieces of a puzzle he couldn't yet see. Just then, thunder roared once more, shaking the ground beneath them. The moment hung precariously in the balance, and Tom knew that the choice they made next could change everything forever. Then tell me, he urged. What do we need to do? The tall figure edged closer, but the woman held her ground. You need to trust me, but you must decide quickly. There is no more time. As the storm raged overhead, Tom felt the heart of his family beat in sync with the chaos surrounding them. Choices had to be made. In this wild tempest of uncertainty, what would they risk? Would the truth finally set them free? Or plunge them deeper into danger? Tom's mind raced, but his heart beat with purpose. He couldn't let fear dictate their fate. He glanced back at Claire, her eyes pleading for reassurance amidst the swirling dread. The girls clung to her, sensing the tension in the air. Trust her, he murmured, forcing a sense of calm into his voice. What is it that we don't know? The woman cast a quick glance at the tall man, who seemed to weigh his options. She continued, They don't just want your daughters. They're after something much bigger, your legacy. Something you're not yet aware of. They believe your family holds the key to it. Tom's mind felt like a jigsaw puzzle, pieces scattered and chaotic. What do you mean? He pressed, hoping for clarity amidst the storm. The legacy, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper that barely cut through the thunder. It's a secret that has been kept hidden for generations. And now they want it. Your girls, there's something about them. Suddenly, the raw energy in the air shifted. The young man, still grappling with Tom, let out a frustrated growl. Enough talking. Just give us what we want. His patience frayed, he struggled harder to break free of Tom's hold. Tom's grip tightened around the young man's wrist, his adrenaline igniting. I won't let you hurt them. Tom. Claire's voice brought him back for a moment, filled with a mix of fear and strength. We need to think. The woman took a step closer as if sensing the urgency of the moment. If you don't act now, your family may be in grave danger. They have resources, information that could destroy you. Then tell us what to do. Tom shouted desperately, wrestling with the uncertainty of their situation. Follow me, she insisted, and for a brief moment, all five of them stood frozen in the storm's ominous glow. The tall man shifted, adjusting the grip on his weapon, but the storm continued to rage in unpredictable force, mirroring the tension mounting in front of them. Run! Claire suddenly screeched, pulling the girls with her as she darted into the downpour. her instinct to protect driving her ahead. Tom's senses screamed in protest, but he couldn't let his family go alone. "Claire!" he cried, lunging after her, the heavy rain soaking through his clothes in an instant. He turned back briefly to see the tall man finally breaking his moment of indecision, making a move toward them with dangerous intent. The woman stayed just behind Tom, her demeanor calm even in the midst of chaos. "We need to get to shelter. The truth lies ahead. And it's more shocking than you can imagine." Together they raced through the sheets of rain, the pounding of thunder echoing in the distance. As they ran, the shadows behind them twisted in pursuit, driven by a relentless hunger for something they couldn't comprehend yet. With every step, Tom felt fueled by a combination of dread and fierce love for his family. They weaved through the darkness, uncertainty blurring around them. Would the truth reveal salvation or devastation? As they finally spotted a flicker of light ahead, Tom's heart quickened. "What's that?" he yelled, hope and fear intertwining. "It's a safe house," the woman shouted back, just as another crack of thunder struck down nearby, illuminating their path. The figures behind them surged closer, and in that moment Tom recognized one absolute truth: they had entered a fight for both their lives and the future of their family. Would the safe house bring the answers they needed, or would it seal their fate? Tom could feel the weight of the coming storm bearing down, and he braced himself for whatever lay ahead. The very foundation of their lives and their legacies was about to shake. As they approached the flickering light, the edges of Tom's vision blurred with urgency. He could see the safe house taking shape through the rain, a modest structure that promised shelter from not just the storm, but perhaps from their pursuers as well. Claire held on tightly to the girls, urging them forward, her expression resolute despite the fear that hung thick in the air. The woman at Tom's side, seemingly unfazed by their precarious situation, edged closer and whispered inside, "You'll learn more. But whatever you do, stay together." Tom nodded, feeling the wet mud cling to his shoes as they sprinted toward the door. With every step, his heart pounded harder. He could almost taste the fear mingling with the rain. When they reached the porch, Claire slammed her hand against the wooden door, the sound swallowed by the furious storm. "Open up," she shouted, panic lacing her voice. Moments felt like lifetimes as they stood there, adrenaline coursing through them all. Just when Tom thought they'd have to break it down, the door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior. An elderly man, grizzled and wary, stood before them. "Get inside now." They rushed past him into the warmth, gasping in the sudden stillness. The spark of hope flickered but felt fragile, like a candle in the howling storm outside. "Is it safe here?" Tom demanded, his voice lower but edged with urgency. For now, the man replied gravely, closing the door with a solid thud. "But we don't have long." As Tom let that sink in, the woman motioned for them to gather around her in the room's corner. The walls lined with books and old portraits, evidence of the past that felt heavy yet inviting. "It's time to tell you about your legacy," she said, her tone unwavering. "I need to know my daughters are safe first." Tom interjected, fire burning in his chest. Claire squeezed his hand tightly, grounding him. "The threat isn't just from those outside," the woman explained. "It's within your very family." "What do you mean?" Claire's voice was resolute, but sadness shadowed her features as she glanced at Tom. "You have a connection to something powerful," the woman continued. "Something your family has been protecting for generations. Your daughters, there's an ancient lineage within them that makes them targets." Tom's heart sank. Targets? By whom? Why? By those who want control over the legacy, a force that could either save or destroy countless lives. Tom clenched his jaw, feeling the urgency spiral. "But how? How do we fight back?" The room felt charged with a kind of energy that he could hardly wrap his mind around. Each set of eyes turned to the woman, waiting. She took a deep breath. "First, you need to understand what's at stake. The legacy isn't just a myth. It's a key that unlocks unimaginable power, hidden deep within your family's history." Tom's gut twisted with an unsettling mixture of fear and intrigue. "We have to get to the bottom of this for our girls. What do we need to do?" The woman nodded, her gaze serious. "You'll need to learn about your past. Gather the relics, and you'll begin to piece together the truth. Only then will you protect them fully." At that moment, the sound of thunder erupted violently, rattling the old beams of the house. The elderly man turned to the window, eyes wide. They're closer than we thought. We don't have much time. Then we go now, Claire declared, a fire igniting in her spirit. As she spoke, a figure loomed in the doorway, a shadow that cast doubt over their fragile safety. Get ready, Tom shouted, rallying his family as they prepared to confront whatever came next. The weight of their heritage pressed down on him, and with it, the certainty that the fight was far from over. Could the secrets of their legacy really be the key to their survival? And what might they uncover along the way? Tom's heart raced as he caught the first glimpse of the encroaching figure in the doorway. It was a moment tangled in adrenaline and uncertainty, and time seemed to stop just as the thunder rumbled ominously overhead, echoing in tandem with his mounting fears. Get back, Tom shouted, positioning himself protectively in front of Claire and the girls. A wall of determination formed against the unknown threat. The shadows closed in around them, and for a brief instant, everything hung in the balance. The figure stepped into the dim light of the safe house, the sharp outline revealing a familiar face that sent chills down Tom's spine. Claire, the figure spoke, voice cold yet familiar. You shouldn't have come back. Tom's fists clenched, feeling an instinct to fight against the unease washing over him. Tom, wait. It's not what you think, Claire hissed, her eyes wide, panic flickering across her features. The figure raised a hand, a sign of silencing the room. I came to warn you, not to threaten you. There's no time. They're closing in and you need to leave this place now. Why should we trust you? Tom demanded, the fire in his voice unwavering. Despite the man's tone, the shadows of doubt cast over him loomed larger than the thunder beyond. Because I'm the only reason you're still safe, the man clarified, lowering his voice urgently. I've been following your family for years. I know what they want. Just then, another crash of thunder burst outside, echoing an unsettling harmony with their fears. The woman stepped forward, pointing toward a rugged backpack slumped against the wall. Inside is everything you need: notes, sketches of the relics, and details of your legacy. Then we need to leave. There's no telling how long we have. Tom exchanged glances with Claire, the weight of their history hanging between them like an unbroken silence. Their lives hadn't just been fractured. They'd been suspended in a limbo of betrayal and grief. But here, right now, was a chance to piece together what had been lost, not just in terms of their family but their very identities. We can't go back now, Tom, Claire whispered, her eyes flooded with urgency. If there's a way to protect our daughters, we have to grasp at it, even if it means confronting our past. The sound of footsteps muffled by the storm escalated the rising panic within Tom. Fine, he relented, knowing in that moment that indecision would be another shackle binding them to their pain. They needed a way forward. Grabbing the backpack, he unzipped it quickly, revealing scattered papers, family trees dusted with age, and intricate drawings of artifacts. Memories erupted, but they mattered not. The truth needed to lead them now. Let us go, he urged, clutching the straps tightly. As the man turned, beckoning for them to follow, the air crackled like static, charged with a sense of impending freedom or doom. With Claire and the girls at his heel, they navigated through the dimly lit corridors of the safe house, each footfall echoing with memories yet holding the promise of transformation. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but a break in the dark clouds hinted at the possibility of dawn. Just stick together, Tom reminded everyone, his spirit rising as they huddled close. The rhythm of determined hearts sounded louder than the storm now raging around them as they stepped outside. The first rays of morning broke through the clouds, illuminating a new path ahead. Tom could feel the collective tension begin to ease. Once again he faced the encroaching figures that threatened everything. But this time he was no longer just the man in the suit with an empire. It wasn't material wealth he carried. It was the resilience of a family, ready to reclaim their story. Let us show them who we are, Tom said, determination roaring inside him. He sensed the girls tightening their grip to each other, but finally they were united, not just as a family bound by blood, but by a choice to face whatever awaited them together. Together they stepped forward into the unknown, taking that critical leap of faith, empowered by the legacy they'd only begun to discover. Did they know what lay ahead? No, those answers were tangled in an uncertain future. But they did know this: whatever storm approached, they would weather it side by side. For the first time in a long while, they weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for connection, for unity, and a love that could overpower the darkness. As they faced the horizon, Tom felt a deep breath fill his lungs, a spark of hope igniting not just within himself, but within Emily and Kate too. Together, they would navigate the tangled web of family and legacy. This was their story to write, their lives to reclaim. Now was the moment to gather strength and embrace whatever awaited them, so here it is, dear friends. If you felt the fire in this story, and want to be part of more incredible journeys, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share your feelings about this transformation in the comments below. And please, leave a like right now to feed the algorithm that makes a big difference. Plus, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting story. Let us spread this wave of hope together.